Glenwood Heights looked like a picture-perfect suburban neighborhood from the outside: white picket fences, trimmed lawns, and freshly painted mailboxes. But beneath the quiet surface, tension was brewing. At the center of it was Margaret Wells, a woman in her mid-40s who valued peace more than anything else. For months, her life had been disrupted by one person, Ryan Carter, a 19-year-old college kid living alone in his parents' house while they traveled constantly for business. Ryan treated the house like his personal playground. Night after night, he invited friends over, blasted music through oversized speakers, and turned the garage into a mini nightclub. Every time the bass shook her bedroom window at midnight, Margaret's frustration grew. She filed complaint after complaint with the Homeowners Association. 9 complaints in total, each with detailed notes: the time, the noise level, the disruption. And every time, the HOA replied with the same canned message: "We are looking into the matter, thank you for your patience." Patience, Margaret thought bitterly, had become a joke. One Tuesday night, close to midnight, she pressed her curtains aside and stared. Ryan and his friends were dancing in the garage, beer cans scattered across the floor. The music was so loud it rattled her picture frames. She picked up her phone and called the HOA president, Mr. Daniels. "Mr. Daniels, this is the 9th time. That boy has turned his house into a club, do something." His tired voice came back over the line. "Mrs. Wells, we've sent him warning letters, but unless there's hard evidence, our hands are tied." "Evidence?" Margaret snapped after ending the call. "What do they expect me to do, film every second of my miserable nights?" The next morning, she filed yet another formal complaint on the HOA portal. She had become infamous in the office. Staff rolled their eyes whenever they saw her name. Meanwhile, Ryan was laughing about it. To him, Margaret was nothing but the angry neighbor. Every time he heard about another complaint, he turned the music up louder. He'd joke with his friends. "Bet she's standing at her window right now, notebook in hand. 11:52 p.m., Ryan playing music again." The others would roar with laughter. Margaret, of course, heard the laughter too, and that made her obsession burn hotter. By now, the fight wasn't just about noise, it was personal, and Margaret was about to take it to the next level. On Friday night, when the music pounded even louder than usual, she didn't bother calling the HOA. She didn't take notes. She dialed 911. "Hello, I'd like to report a noise disturbance," she said firmly. "It's been going on for hours, please send someone." The operator assured her an officer would be dispatched. Margaret hung up, pulled her curtain aside, and waited. Her heart beat faster as flashing red and blue lights turned onto the street. This time, she thought, justice would finally arrive. The police cruiser rolled quietly down the street, its red and blue lights casting shadows on the pristine Glenwood Heights lawns. Officer Blake Turner stepped out, adjusting his belt and glancing at the loud garage down the block. The music was thumping and the beat echoed off the houses. Blake wasn't new to noise complaints, but this wasn't his first visit. He'd heard Margaret Wells' name before, and he knew this was a situation that went beyond just loud music. There was personal tension here. He walked up the driveway and knocked sharply on the side door of the garage. The music was deafening, and for a moment no one noticed. He knocked again, harder. Finally, a tall boy with a red Solo cup opened the door, squinting at the uniform. "Yeah, what's up?" the boy asked, clearly annoyed. Blake raised his badge. "Police department, we've received multiple noise complaints. Turn the music down now." Inside, laughter stopped. Ryan appeared a second later, casually holding a speaker remote and flashing his usual confident smile. "Officer," he said smoothly, "we're just hanging out, it's not a big deal." Blake's tone didn't change. "It's midnight, your neighbors are trying to sleep, shut it down or I'll take further action." Ryan smirked. "Let me guess, Mrs. Wells again." His friends laughed from behind him. That was the moment Margaret burst out of her front door, bathrobe flapping, rage in her eyes. She stormed across her lawn and yelled, "Yes, it's me, and I'm sick of this every single night." Blake held up his hand. "Ma'am, please go back inside, I've got this under control." But Margaret wasn't listening. She was done staying quiet. "I have tolerated this for months. 9 complaints, no sleep, no response, and this boy laughs at my face every time." Ryan shrugged, casually sipping his drink. Because you act like you own the whole street, it's just a few people having fun, chill out. That triggered Margaret even more. She stepped forward, pointing a shaking finger at him. You think this is fun? You're ruining people's lives with your selfish behavior. You don't care about anyone but yourself. Blake stepped between them, voice raised. All right, enough, both of you back off right now. The scene was starting to draw attention. Porch lights clicked on, neighbors peeked through blinds, some stood silently on their porches watching, no one spoke but the whole street was witnessing it. Blake turned to Ryan. I'm giving you a direct order, shut it down. If it happens again, I'll cite you for disturbing the peace and the next step is court, understand? Ryan hesitated, his bravado cracked for a second, then he muttered. Fine, party over, guys. He stepped inside, shut off the music, and closed the garage. Margaret clapped slowly, sarcastically. Congratulations, officer, I hope this finally teaches him a lesson. Blake turned to her, frustrated. Ma'am, I'll file a report, but next time, unless it's a true emergency, go through the HOA first. Margaret scoffed. The HOA, they're useless, that's why I called you. Blake took a deep breath. Both of them were exhausting. Neither was backing down. He glanced up at the dark windows around them, watching. This wasn't just a neighborhood problem anymore, it was a standoff. As he walked back to his cruiser, Ryan leaned out the garage door and called out. See you tomorrow night, Mrs. Wells. Then slammed the door shut. The following night, Margaret didn't even try to sleep. She sat upright in her living room chair, robe wrapped tightly around her, eyes glued to the clock. 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, and then, just as she expected, music. Even louder than before. The garage lit up with strobes, voices shouting, laughter echoing. Ryan hadn't learned a lesson, he doubled down. Margaret grabbed her phone with trembling hands and dialed 911. It's happening again, she told the dispatcher flatly. Send an officer now. Officer Blake sighed when the call came through. Same address, same names, same problem. He pulled his cruiser onto the quiet street, already exhausted by what he knew was waiting for him. This time he didn't bother with polite knocks. He marched straight into the garage, his voice booming over the music. Turn it off now. Everyone froze, cups dropped. Ryan spun around, face tightening when he saw Blake. Officer, it's just... No excuses, Blake cut him off. I warned you, this is your official citation for disturbing the peace. He pulled out his notepad and started writing. Ryan's friends exchanged nervous looks. The laughter was gone. Across the street, Margaret burst out of her house again, triumphant. Finally, some justice, she shouted, her voice sharp and cutting. But Ryan wasn't done. He slammed his drink down and glared at her. You know what your problem is? You're obsessed with me, you spy on me, you stalk me, and you can't stand that I'm actually living my life. Margaret's face turned red. She stormed across the lawn toward him. Obsessed? You've ruined my life, my health, my peace. You're a selfish, spoiled brat who thinks the rules don't apply to him. The garage erupted in chaos. Ryan shouting, Margaret screaming, Ryan's friends jeering. Blake shoved himself between them, voice cracking like thunder. Stop, both of you, back up right now. The neighborhood was awake, curtains parted, porch lights flicked on, everyone was watching the showdown. Blake's jaw tightened. Ryan, here's your citation, one more violation and you're spending the night in a cell, do you understand? Ryan snatched the paper angrily, whatever. But then Blake turned to Margaret. And you, ma'am, you stepped onto his property without permission. You escalated the situation. If this continues, I'll have no choice but to cite you as well. Margaret froze, eyes wide. What, you're blaming me? I'm holding you both accountable, Blake said firmly. I am not coming back here night after night to watch you two tear each other apart. For the first time, Margaret had no words. She looked at the citation in Ryan's hand, then at the officer's stern expression. Tears filled her eyes, not just anger anymore, but the sting of humiliation. The next morning, both Ryan and Margaret were summoned to the HOA office. President Daniels sat at the head of the table, weary but firm. This community cannot continue like this, he said. Ryan, your late-night parties are over. Another violation and your parents will face fines, possibly legal action. And Margaret, your complaints are documented, but you cannot take matters into your own hands. You must follow procedure. Both of you need to back down." Neither spoke. Ryan stared at the table, jaw clenched. Margaret fiddled with a pen, eyes heavy. That night, for the first time in months, Glenwood Heights was silent. No bass shaking windows, no laughter spilling into the street, just quiet. Margaret sat by her window, notebook on her lap, staring across at the dark garage. She opened her diary and wrote one final note. Maybe it was never just about the noise, maybe it was about being ignored. Tonight, finally, I am heard, and there is silence. As she closed the diary, a police cruiser rolled slowly past, headlights sweeping across the lawns. Blake's silhouette was visible inside. He glanced briefly at Margaret's house, then drove on. For the first time in a long while, Glenwood Heights slept in peace.